This video tutorial will show you how to create a 2x2 APA style bar graph in Excel. For your assignment, you will find materials on Moodle. I'll show you where those are in a second, but the Excel document here will show you instructions for the assignment today. I'm going to go through a tutorial on how to make this 2x2 chart, and you will make the chart and then upload it to Moodle as your assignment. So the tutorial today will be your assignment. So just as we see here, you're going to create a 2x2 bar graph with the information below. You're going to make the graph into APA style using the yes or no checklist that we've looked at in the past. Make sure to read all the step-by-step instructions, especially adding error bars this time. Once your graph is completed from Excel, you need to paste it into a Word file and make the page into APA style, including a figure number, title, and note. And then you'll save both completed files with your username in week 11, lab 2, and upload it under Moodle assignments for that week. The assignment will be due on Moodle by 5 p.m. Tuesday, November 3rd. So let's get started here. When we create APA style bar graphs, you already know that you can use this PowerPoint for a few different examples. The PowerPoint is also on Moodle. Sorry, I went a little bit quick on some of the slides. You can pause if you'd like to look at them through the video, but I'd suggest pulling the PowerPoint off of Moodle so that you can check it out as well. So we are going to use this same yes or no checklist that we used in the past. However, this time we are going to include these last 2 points, which are error bars and the figure caption, because we're actually going to, once we complete the graph in Excel, we're going to put it into Word to make that APA style, which means we'll add the graph title when we're in Word. Again, not adding a graph title in Excel. Okay. The next slides here are the same ones you've seen in the past, where they show examples of what you should include and should not include. And then just a little checklist of quick tips here. So you can use this if you'd like. We're, of course, going to be looking quite a bit at the yes or no checklist. But for now, we will go into Moodle to show you where to find the documents. So in Psych 210 for fall 2020, you will go here into week 11, lab 2 for APA graph in Excel for you to upload the 2 assignments. And you can find all the materials you need under weekly laboratory assignments, week 11, lab 2. You can also look down here where you'll say APA style resources, creating 2x2 APA style bar graphs and the step-by-step sheet. The step-by-step sheet, we've seen it before, but it is a little bit different now that we're doing 2x2 bar graph. So during the tutorial, I will go pretty much step-by-step through all of these pieces. So please use this as well as the APA yes or no checklist for help. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is get a means table. Now, if you see your tutorial guide here, the Excel file, I've already copy and pasted this means table from SPSS, just in case you can't access SPSS or there's an issue. I've already pasted it here. So I'm about to show you something that you can practice so that you can do it in the future. But for this assignment, the table is already here. So what we first need to do, we'll go into our our SPSS file of rating scores. And in the past, we already looked at a bunch of data that included reading scores from students who took a reading exam. The reading exam scores could range from 0 to 50. 50 is the highest score they could receive. So that's the full range of values possible here. And we also now 2x2 would mean that there are here 2 independent variables, and each of those variables have 2 levels. So we'll see one variable is noise group, which background noise they took the exam, and the other variable is their age group. Were they 5-year-olds or 8-year-olds? So if we go into variable view here and we see the values, we'll see that our 1 represent quiet background noise condition and our 2s represent loud. But then we added another variable, an independent variable, which means 5-year-olds and 8-year-olds. So as you might recall, what that means is you'd have a group of students who are 5 years old and in the quiet condition, 5-year-old in the loud condition, 8-year-olds in the quiet condition, and 8-year-olds in the loud condition. And how I can show you that even a little bit more is if you look here on the data view. Remember, we had 1 for noise was quiet and 1 for age was 5. So we have a bunch of data that's 1, 1. Then we have some data that's 1, 2, which means quiet 8-year-olds. Then we go down and we have 2, 1, which means loud 5-year-olds. And then we have more data that says 2, 2, which means loud 8-year-olds. So right there we have 4 groups, 4 conditions technically, when combining our 2 independent variables here. And so we're going to see if the mean reading score for each of those 4 groups varies depending on the conditions they were in and the age levels they are. So what you need to do here is go up to Analyze, Compare Means, and Means. So Analyze, Compare Means, Means. I'm now starting step 1 on the step-by-step guide. And let me pull this over here. For our dependent list, we'd put in our dependent variable, which is the reading score, because this score depends on the conditions that they were in. And so now in the independent list, let's pull in noise group. And you need to click Next to go to the next layer. And then we'll put in age group in layer 2. We click Options. And we need to look at cell statistics because we definitely need to get the statistics for the means for each of the groups. But we don't need number of cases and we don't need standard deviation. What we do need is standard error of mean because we're going to use the standard error of mean values for our error bars. Click Continue, click OK. Now we'll open up our output in SPSS and you'll see this means report table here. This is what we're going to copy and paste into Excel. So what you'll do is right click copy and then we'll go into Excel here and I'll just show you, you'd click right click and you'd click paste. And so here it is. If for any reason you can't even copy it or anything, it's exactly copied right here for us. Okay, so let's get working on the next step. Now what you need to do is actually recreate the table in Excel to make it what Excel can recognize to create a 2x2 table. What I mean is you're going to try to highlight some information and ask Excel to make a table from the information you've highlighted. However, there are these total scores and standard errors here that are not important for us and will not work if you end up highlighting anything in this table. That's why we need to recreate it. So just so you recall, if you know a 2x2 would actually look like a window square of 4 squares. It might be a rectangle here, but 4. What that means is you're going to have an independent variable on this side and each cell represents 1 level. So the independent variable here would technically be noise condition, and we're going to put in quiet and loud here. And then you're going to have an independent variable up here, which would be age group. And here you'd have the 5-year-olds and here you'd have the 8-year-olds. So that means you're going to represent 4 different means in this box. I'll explain further as we go. So the best thing to do is just go down here and start typing quiet, background noise maybe, loud. Great. And then we have up here, let's see, we need to put in 5-year-olds, 8-year-olds. And now what we're going to do is put in, now I'm going to actually delete this just to say quiet and loud just for the moment because it's easier to see. Sorry about that. So now what we need to do is put in our 4 means here. I'll write means at the top so we remember, and I'm going to actually highlight these 2 cells and go up to the top to say merge and center, just so I remember their means here. Then what I need to do is actually find the mean that would represent quiet 5-year-olds. So if you look at both of the cells on either side and up and down, we need a quiet 5-year-old. So I'll go over here, quiet 5-year-old, 27.2667. I'm just going to copy and paste each cell. And then we need a loud 5-year-old. So let's go here, loud 5-year-old, 17.7333. Great. Quiet 8-year-olds will be quiet 8-year-old here. Copy and paste that. And loud 8-year-old, loud 8-year-old here. Okay, so double check to make sure that's correct, that you've now recreated this means table with 4 squares. And this is what 2 by 2 look like. It's 2 cells by 2 cells, which give you 4 total cells here representing each group. Now, we also want to just add some standard error of mean values so that we have them organized. And so I'm going to merge and center that as well and put another link here, 5-year-old and 8-year-old. And now what it would be is the quiet 5-year-old standard error of mean. So quiet 5-year-old standard error of mean, 0.91790. Quiet 8-year-old standard error of mean. So quiet 8-year-old, there we go. Loud 5-year-old over here, and loud 8-year-old over here. Okay, so that's our table here. We can make it look a little fancier if you'd like, where we can put some borders on it just to clarify things, but there's no need to. Here's the little outside borders. You can click here to choose which ones you want. No need to do that. I'd like to for organization purposes. Okay, so here we are. Now that we have this, sorry, everyone can see it here. Now that we have this recreated table, we need to figure out what information to highlight to actually make the graph. What information we need first are the 4 mean values as well as the independent variable names. And so pretty much this is the section you need to highlight. Okay, take a look and try to highlight the same section for your own. And now we need to insert a graph. There are several ways you can do this. As I already mentioned, you can, if possible, use this quick analysis, or you can go up to insert, recommended charts. Maybe you can go there and click one that looks right, or I'll go up here and click this little one. If you hover over it, it will say insert column or bar chart. And the first one here, clustered column, as you hover over it. And that's what this looks like here. So yours should look exactly the same. Now, if you are on a Mac, remember that your buttons might look a little different. So you want to, find insert, find add chart. You can also use your remote desktop to go in here, especially if you're working from SPSS. But if you use remote, then you can open up the PC version of Excel so that it looks exactly like mine as you're doing this assignment. So now that we have our graph here, we want to go through that checklist. But to keep going through the step-by-step guide, I want to talk to you about error bars first. So again, wherever you can find add chart elements, sometimes it's up here, right? Other times you can find it, this green plus sign. So I am going to say, yes, we do need axes. We do need axes titles. We do not want a chart title because we're going to add that separately in Word. We don't want data labels or a data table, but we do want error bars this time. Let's remove grid lines, and we do need a legend so that we can clearly determine the different groups. Just to start here, I'm going to move my legend up to the top. You should also have it up to the top. What that means is your inside graph is actually between the 2 axes here, and your legend should always be in the inside graph. If not here, maybe over here, but it should not be below here. That is not APA style. So now I have a bunch of room white space down here. I'm just going to click inside the two axes and pull this out a little. So I actually now make the space a little bit nicer. So I'll leave that right there. Okay, so now that we have error bars, let me show you. These error bars are added with a standard error value that does not make sense with the data that we actually have here. So we need to customize the amount of the error bar. Now, again, you can read through the step-by-step guide to see how to do this and also watch me. But to help explain, right, we have a mean. This blue bar is a 5-year-old. Blue is quiet right now. So five-year-old quiet is at 27.2667. Now we have an error. That means the mean could actually be slightly above or slightly below the mean that we found. We need to represent that with an error bar. Standard error of mean is one way to do that, which means that the mean could be above or below by 0.917. So it could be 27 plus 0.91 or 27 minus 0.91. That means right now the error bar reaches way past 30, which is way higher than this value. So of course we need to customize it. How to customize it is you click on the first error bar here. Notice that the error bar for both blue bars are selected. That means we are changing the values of the blue set, which means the quiet groups here at the same time. You cannot do one at a time. So we'll double click on the error bars, maybe a couple times to get this format window open. You might have to do a couple things to try to figure out how to fix your error bars, but maybe you would go to add chart element, error bars, and then say more error bar options, and then this bar should also come up, okay? So another way to get there is this. Add chart element, error bars, more error bar options. Great. We'll click. Now we'll go here and make sure that you are on the error bar options tab. Scroll down and click on custom and specify value. So when we specify value, we'll see that again, the bars changed, but they changed to a custom 1, which meant that now it's 27 plus or minus 1. Now 1 is close to 0.91790, but it's not exact. So what we're going to do is change these values. Now there are a couple ways to do it. One way to do it is to remove this, make it blank, remove this one as well. And when we talk about the positive error value, it's literally saying what's the value that the mean could be above the mean. And again, I mentioned it's 0.917. What's the error it could be below? That would be the negative, and it's the same. It's 0.917 because that is plus or minus the mean. And so whatever we put in this bar right here, this box is going to be the exact same we put here. So what we need to do is enter the positive error value for both blue bars, which is quiet. So in quiet, SEM 5-year-old is, we're going to type it here, 0.91790. You could put a comma, and then you can just put the quiet 8-year-old mean in there. And do you see, I actually clicked on it by mistake, which then puts all this text in the box. So I'm just going to delete it all over again and type it in so it's correct. 0.91790, comma, 0.94348. And then I'm just going to copy and paste this, or you can type it in again and you can click OK. And so now they didn't move too much because 0.91 was very close to the 1 that it was set at just a moment ago. But it is correct now, custom. Now we do the same thing. You can double click or click again, make sure that you go to this error bar options, go down to custom and specify value. So now both orange bar error bars are highlighted, which counts for loud. So now we're looking at these two cells down here. Instead of typing it in like I did for the previous set, I'm going to show you another way to do it. I'm going to delete all of this. And you can use this toggle button. So let's start with positive, press toggle. And what you can do is actually drag and highlight the two cells. Now what it shows is it's saying on tab assignment, D62 to E62. So we're on tab assignment and we just highlighted the D62 and E62. Now mine is going to look different than yours because your cells might not be in 62 right here. So don't worry if it doesn't look that way. It's just referring to where you put the information in the document. And then we'll do the same thing, toggle, and again, highlight the exact same cells. So again, you can either do that, or I could have just typed in the values just like we did before. And so now there we go. One way to test this to see if these worked is now those error bars are attached to the cells that are written here. They're only attached when we've toggled them because we highlighted the cells. Up here, because I typed them in, they're exact numbers that are typed in. But if you toggled them, you can click on one of the cells that you used to toggle. And let me just type in the number 5. So I'm saying that the error value changed to 5 for the loud 5-year-olds, right? Loud 5-year-olds. So I'm expecting now that the loud, which is orange, 5-year-olds, the bar will expand to 5. It will get bigger than what it was before. So let's press enter. And do you see how that got bigger? So that's one way to test it. If, now I'm going to press the back button or Control Z or Apple Z or anything like that. And so now it's small and correct. And there we go. Make sure if you test it, you put back the correct value. Again, that will only work if you toggle. I'm going to save. Okay. So that was error bars for us. Now what we need to do is go ahead and make this into APA style. And so I'm going to go pretty quickly because we've done this in the past. It's already the correct font. We need to make our axes titles bold and larger, so 12-point font. This axes title, you should fill that in, but it's age group. Oops, I typed it into the font size. Sorry. Let's click enter on that and change the title to age group. We're going to go here, make this axis title 12, bold, and this should be mean reading score. Great. Our numbers are a little crunched, so I'm going to move that in to make it look better. Good. Now we need to see that everything isn't in black and white. So let's double click on the blue bars. Actually, I want to make sure that both blue bars are clicked at the same time. So sometimes you have to click inside in the white space and then click once on those blue bars. And you can go into home and maybe click fill up here. Or if you're over here into format data series, you can click the fill bucket and click fill, solid fill. And let's actually I want to make this one a dark gray. And then we'll click outside. Then we'll click in the orange bars and go to fill, solid fill, and let's make this one a light gray. There you go. Just make them different enough. So if they're not different enough, I'm going to go back and maybe I'll make it slightly lighter gray just so that there's enough contrast for someone to see the difference. We need to now make our axes black. So black lines there. So I click on my axes words and then it pops up a line. Go over to the fill bucket, but now we're on line, not fill. Line, solid line, black. Good. And for the y-axis, the same thing, solid line, black. Great. We do need major outside tick lines. So while I'm on my y-axis here, in the axis options, we want to look at a couple of things, but we'll go to tick marks first, major, outside. That's great. And now you can see that there are little outside tick marks. Then we also want to go to axis options and make sure that the bounds are from 0 to 50. And it is correct, they're from 0 to 50, but sometimes they're not from 0 to 50. So I like to just go in there and make it 0 to 50, because if not, it's going to automatically choose whatever number depending on the size of your graph if you go up and down and make it bigger or smaller. So that's why I like to click here. Again, go here and make it axis options bounds 0 to 50. The other thing we need to do is get rid of all the decimal points. I know there are decimal places in SPSS past 2 decimal points. However, my scores for the reading exam only went up to 2 decimal points. So let's just say we need to go down again here to format axis, where you double click here, or you, and then you would go to axis options, you click number, you would change the number to number instead of custom, and then it gives you the option to change decimal places. So we'll click enter, and now you can see they've changed. So I'll X out of that, and here we are. Now, you don't need to put tick marks for the bottom just because these are nominal, and so they're clearly different groups here, but I'm just going to do it anyway. Double click on the axis. This comes up, tick marks, major, and outside. Good, and there we are. Now, one more thing we need to do is click in the lower white corner here. So you don't want to be inside the graph at this point. Lower corner here so that it's outlining the whole graph. And we need to remove the border. So right here, click the fill button. We don't want fill, we want border, and then we want no line. And so if you click outside of here now, it's seamless with the back. There's no slight gray line. And this is crucial when we copy and paste things into Word. Okay, so let's save this. Let's look back at our yes or no chart here, just to be sure that we have everything correct. Black and white, same font. Axes titles, axes values. Let's make sure that the values are 9 to 10. Point size font. And let's see, go up to home, and they're 9 or 10, which is great. We'll click here, 9 or 10. Good. Error bars, good. We'll add the figure caption in. We'll add the graph title in later, and we remove the grid lines, and we remove the border line. Great, so we're done with this. This is in APA style. So now what you need to do is right click and copy this graph. Let's open up a Word document. And we're going to actually press enter a few times because it's better this way. Then click Control V or paste, and here is your graph. Now, I just noticed that I did not change the font color from a dark gray to a black. In this case, I can clearly see the words, so it's okay that I didn't do that. It's still in grayscale. However, what's a cool thing is that if you copy and paste the graph into Word, instead of copying and pasting it as a screenshot or image, you now have the opportunity to change things of the graph while you're in Word. So I'm going to actually click on this here. Control C. Okay, click on that, home, and I want to change the font to black instead of gray. So you see how that happened? Let's stay consistent, and I'll do the same for this one. It's, as you can see, I'm having a little bit of trouble navigating in Word. So I'd rather do this in Excel so that when I copy and paste it here, it's all done. But just so you know, you can do that in Word if you need to. Now, the crucial thing to remember is that when you go back to Excel, they're no longer black. So any changes you make in Word will not be reflected in Excel, which is why I would say do it all in Excel first. Okay, so now we need to make this page in APA style. Whenever you add figures or table to an APA style full paper, they always need to be on separate pages. So every figure gets its own page, every table gets its own page. So at the very top of the first line. So I click all the way to the top. I need to boldly write figure 1 because this is my first figure. And then unbold and double space down, I need to italicize, not bold, a title. So let's have a title, effects, noise, scores, or something like that, right? You're trying to clearly describe what the graph is. Now there's too much space here, so I'm going to delete that. My graph needs to be center aligned to the middle of the page. So let's click on the graph, go up to home, go over to alignment and click center. This is how it should look. Great. And then underneath the graph, I need to align it back to the left and italicize the word note and then unitalicize. And a good note for this kind of graph would be telling me what values you used for the error bars, because we used standard error of mean. So error bars, standard error of the mean. However, some other times you might use other values aside from standard error of the mean. You might use confidence interval bounds or anything like that. And so it's good to represent, to write this in the notes so people understand. So, okay, I'm gonna delete another space here because it's not necessary. Now, the only thing that I would like to change here is that if I were adding this to my paper, I'd write my paper in Times New Roman. That means that your figure, your effects, your title and your note, figure 1, title and note should also be in the same font you use to write your paper. The graph itself should use the sans serif font, which Calibri is a good font, but all the text in Word around it should be the same as the rest of your paper. And so I'm using Times New Roman here. And also 12-point font because that's what I would write my paper in. So let me go back and change all of that. Okay, so here you go. This is the end of creating this graph. You need to save this. Let's go back here. You're going to save number 5 on your Excel. Save both completed files with your username week 11 lab 2. So please save your Excel file with the graph in it, as well as your Word file added with the figure number, title, and note, and upload those to Moodle. Again, yeah, that should be all. Thank you so much, and please let me know if you have any questions.